I call us a species with amnesia because I believe we've misplaced the memory of a whole chapter of human history. It's simply been erased. Until we reclaim that memory, we will never be whole. That is the hook. It isn't Atlantis, not a submerged pyramid, not a fable. This time, the amnesia isn't concealed underwater or devoured by the jungle. It has been lurking in the open, inscribed onto cliffs, hewn above the heads of generations who never glanced up. Hancock has shifted his gaze to a civilization most people have never even encountered, one that leaves archaeologists baffled and historians anxious. He calls it improbable. And after witnessing what they left behind, you might concur. This is not a lost city locked away by time. It sits right there in the light, flawlessly preserved, quietly editing everything we thought we understood. A federation without monarchs, a language with no heirs, tombs that appear to challenge the very concept of access. Welcome to Lycia, southwest Turkey's Mediterranean shore. Azure waters shimmer under the sun, bright-sailed yachts cut lazy arcs between sleepy harbor towns. Sheer limestone bluffs plunge into the sea, the rocks stained with ochre and shade. Most tourists come here for the coast, the sailing, the cuisine. They stroll the paved streets, drink dark tea in the shelter of fig trees, and never realize they are walking over the remains of a forgotten society. Lycia, or Lycia as modern charts label it, didn't stretch across flatlands like Egypt or ascend in stone spires like Babylon. Its soul was chiseled high into precipices, out of the grasp of invaders and of wandering eyes. From the port of Myra to the valleys near Fatiye, you will spot their craftsmanship only if you gaze upward. And even then, you will ask yourself, how did they reach that height? Ages before Athens started toying with public votes, Lycia was already operating a political machine unlike anything in its era. The Lycian League wasn't a kingdom. It wasn't a dominion. It was a web, a union of over 20 autonomous city-states. Each town held delegates. Each had a say in a central council. Major cities like Xanthos and Patara possessed more votes, yet even the tiniest villages were heard. They convened often, argued, and jointly elected a central head, the Lysiarch. The Romans, who weren't known for keeping local methods intact, respected the Lycian model enough to maintain it after seizing the region. That is nearly unprecedented in ancient chronicles. Reflect on that. While pharaohs were erecting shrines to themselves, while emperors were tightening their hold through war, Lycia was figuring out how to juggle freedom and unity. It is the sort of civic wisdom most cultures never attain, and they managed it centuries ahead of schedule. Hancock observes, "We view democracy as this straight-line invention, Athens to Rome to modern states, but here is an instance of a functioning democratic union that predates Athens. That is a missing page."
For ages after Lycia's towns went dark, their tombs still stared at the valleys, and etched into those rocks was a riddle no one could decipher. The script seemed familiar, its characters shaped like Greek, but the terms were foreign. They didn't fit Greek, Latin, or any known speech. It was as if Lycia had left a cipher without a legend. That legend finally arrived in the shape of a trilingual marker, discovered at Latun, one of Lycia's holy grounds. Like the Rosetta Stone did for Egypt, this slab bore the same message in 3 tongues: Lycian, Greek, and Aramaic. It was the revelation linguists had been seeking. Bit by bit, they started to interpret. And what they uncovered was startling. These weren't merely royal orders or dusty statutes. Many inscriptions were profoundly intimate. One grave warns, "Do not desecrate this resting place. I was cherished, and now I sleep." Another bears a curse for any who disrupt it. a tone still defensive even in death. Most ancient epitaphs are rigid, packed with ranks and praises. The Lycian writings sound human. They sound like individuals speaking across the ages. Yet by the 4th century BC, their speech was vanished, supplanted entirely by Greek. No rebirth, no lineage, just quiet. Hancock remarks, "The manner in which they wrote about themselves is distinct, warmer, nearly chatty. It's as if the voice of the past is sharper here, and yet the entire language still eludes us. There are old ruins that spark wonder, and then there are those that trigger a sort of discomfort, as if they are staring back at you. Lycia's cliff-hewn tombs fall into the latter group. The first moment you view one, your brain stalls. They aren't just ancient, they're implausible. Cut into vertical stone faces, sometimes 100 feet above the canyon floor, with no steps, no warm trails, no evidence of scaffolding. They appear built for eternity, not for entry. The facades imitate timber structures, roof lines, beams, even joinery, all carved into rock with meticulous care. Why sculpt wood into stone? Perhaps to keep their architecture in a medium that would outlive timber itself. If so, they triumphed. Those wooden homes are long perished, but their image endures, hammered into the bluffs. Hundreds of these graves speckle the terrain. Some cluster, like stone condos for the deceased. Others sit solitary, proud and unapproachable. The most renowned is the tomb of Ament in Phthia. A colossal temple-like front, Ionic pillars framing a doorway high above the city. Inside, nothing but silent void. No robbers have emptied these tombs. No later society has repurposed them. They stay exactly where the Lycians positioned them, hovering between soil and sky. Hancock again. The manner in which they wrote about themselves is distinct, warmer, nearly chatty. It's as if the voice of the past is sharper here, and yet the entire language still eludes us. Most cultures disappear in flame and debris. Lycia didn't. It wasn't vanquished in one savage sweep. It was integrated, gradually, into greater powers. They battled with Troy against the Greeks. They withstood Persian rule. Alexander the Great marched through. Rome eventually absorbed them into its territories. But piece by piece, their character dissolved. The speech vanished. The league withered. The tombs were abandoned to the cliffs. And here is the oddest part. For all their advancement, Lycia left almost no massive shrines to rulers, no epic tales. It is as if they prized the system over the ego, durability over spectacle. That lack feels intentional.
So why is Graham Hancock, who has investigated lost sites from the Amazon to the pyramids, pulled to this silent stretch of Turkey? Because Lycia defies the pattern. It is visible, not buried, recorded in old scrolls, yet still misinterpreted, merged into empires, yet culturally separate for ages. And those tombs, the mechanics, the craft, the sheer refusal to erode, all produced by a non-imperial people with finite means. Hancock states, "I'm not speaking of aliens or Atlantis. I'm speaking of what is right before us. The issue isn't that Lycia is impossible, it's that it's too plausible. It shouldn't exist in this shape, in this era, with this degree of polish, but it does. Why sculpt your dead where nobody can touch them? Why replicate wood in rock? Why construct a functioning democratic union without a blueprint to mimic? These aren't abstract. They are the queries that keep Lycia from becoming just another footnote in an archaeology volume. If we are a species with amnesia, as Hancock claims, then Lycia is like a spark of recollection. Vivid, specific, and out of sync in the timeline we think we grasp. Today, Lycia survives in shards. Ruins half consumed by slopes. Tombs still suspended in cliffs, darkness creeping across their fronts in the twilight. The carvings wear away, the tongue drifts further from total understanding. But perhaps, just perhaps, that is precisely how the Lycians intended it. They didn't scream across history. They placed their heritage in stone, high up, beyond grasp. Not concealed, but not given away freely either. Their silence wasn't a defeat. It was a strategy. Hancock leaves us with this. We don't require legends to make this remarkable. The facts are weird enough. And if Lycia could be ignored for centuries while sitting in plain view, what else have we overlooked? If you ever wander the hills near Patara or the docks of Myra, look up. Those aren't merely burials. They are signals from a society that didn't insist on being recalled, but quietly made sure it would be. And in that stillness, they may have left behind the most deep statement of all, that heritage doesn't require volume, it requires endurance. So what captivates you most about Lycia? Its republic? Its implausible tombs? Or the reality that it was lurking right there in the open? Let's discuss it in the comments.